What's up, everybody? Welcome to Down and Dirty with Michael Julian. I'm your host, Michael Julian, and on this show, we're getting raw, real, and leaving no stone unturned. Each week, I sit down with some truly remarkable people who have overcome immense challenges and adversity in their lives. Whether it was childhood trauma, discrimination, mental health struggles, or any other obstacle thrown their way, my guests aren't just survivors, they're warriors who took their pain and turned it into power. They'll share their unfiltered stories and the life lessons that helped shape them into the forces they are today. So get comfortable because we're about to get down and dirty. You'll hear firsthand how our darkest moments can unexpectedly light the path towards our greatest growth and success. Let's dive in and prepare to feel inspired. So you're going to be going to IPSB in Nashville.
Yeah, I got my tickets and my planes and not my hotel yet, but everyone's saying to get an Airbnb. So they said it's a lot cheaper to go to the Airbnb than a hotel.
The hotels downtown near Broadway are pretty expensive.
I was just in Nashville with my girlfriend's does celebrity hair. So I was just there with Three Doors Down. She went and did all the Three Doors Down guys.
Very cool.
Hair, so I got to see Johnny Cash's stuff.
I went to his museum.
Yeah,
it's super cool.
And then it was his grave and his house.
Yeah,
but the house actually burned down.
That's Old Hickory in Hendersonville.
Yes, that's where we stayed.
I saw it from the water. My sister lives there.
Yeah. Oh, your sister lives in that
Hendersonville.
Okay,
yeah.
The guys from Three Doors, they have this big old house. I think the one guy's Chet is who we're staying with.
Yeah,
but he's getting rid of it now because he's just moving back to his folks' house because they're going to go on a 2-year tour or something like that. And he's like, "Why pay for this big house when I can just move home?"
Absolutely,
and save
absolutely.
on rent. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to get started.
Okay.
Eric Utsch.
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 Yes.
Utsch. It's a fine German name?
Yes.
Yeah,
German
yeah.
name.
Fine German name.
That's what Ancestry.com just told me.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I found out I got a bunch of German and Scandinavian, so I'm like, okay, cool.
Scandinavian. I have a little bit of Russian in me. I didn't know about the Russian thing.
It's Eastern European.
Yeah, Eastern European.
Me too. Yeah. Got some English, got a little Irish. Basically, we're mutts. Yeah. Very, very white-skinned mutts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, Eric, I want to do a little bio for you real quick to kind of give some background for the listeners. You're a martial artist with 4 world championships titles in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Pretty impressive.
Thank you.
25 years of international travel and fighting that has been supporting your personal protection and security for clients bridging the entertainment and professional sectors.
Yes.
Combining passion for martial arts, music, and travel, you've transitioned from international competition to provide professional security services and dedicated to ensuring safety of your clients across multiple platforms and venues. And one thing that I love about you is you are the close protection agent, personal agent for Phil Anselmo from Pantera.
Correct.
One of my favorite bands. Nice. In fact, I remember seeing you at, where was the last close protection conference?
Oh, Dallas, Texas. I think. Dallas was before.
It wasn't Dallas.
Vegas
Was it Vegas?
It was Vegas.
And I remember you walking by, and I know we had met before, and you were actually in an EPI 7-day Executive Protection Institute 7-day class, and I taught that during that session,
86.
and that's so that's when we met. But I remember walking by, and I hadn't recognized you, although the tattoos are pretty unusual in the EP industry. But I saw Pantera on the back of your shirt. I walked up, I grabbed your shirt, I go, dude, I love Pantera, and then that was it. We've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
So very cool. So Eric, there's a lot of things I want to ask you. Right. You are a fascinating individual. You've got really cool experience. You're an absolute badass. I mean, you championships, kicking butt all over the place. Now you're doing executive protection. You're even meeting with other metal and rock bands to work with their crews and stuff like that. So there's a lot. And it seems like every episode almost of the show is almost always somehow inclusive executive protection because that's such a big world of mine that I'm involved in. But I don't want to talk a lot about that. I just want to talk about Eric and what you've been through, where you came from, and how you got to where you are today. So let's start from the very beginning, origin story. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I have an older sister, and that's 2 parents. About it.
2?
Yeah.
That's good. They're both living?
Yeah, they're both living. Yes.
Okay. That's kind of cool. Are you close with them?
I live at my mother's house because she's kind of older, so I take care of her. Mm-hmm. So I rent a room for her, and it helps her with her bills, and I take care of her and stuff.
Right on.
My father lives on his own with his new wife, or his, not new, no, it's 30 years, but
yeah,
the replacement for my mother.
Yes. What was your childhood like?
I was all right. I mean, it was working class, blue collar environment, I guess.
Allentown is known for that.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Joel wrote a song about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, my father made antique cars for a living.
Oh.
So, like anywhere from the 20s to like, I think he stopped in the 40s, that bracket of cars.
So he restored vintage cars?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
And he worked at Mack Trucks during the day. Then he did the vintage cars that night.
Nice.
So he really liked his hobbies. So it took a lot of time from, I guess, father-son time. He just did his hobbies.
So he was involved in his hobbies, and so the work-life balance, was he not absentee, but was he more?
He was there. Like his garage was in our house, but he enjoyed his hobbies. So like, playing baseball or anything like that really didn't happen at all.
Yeah,
I was really focused into professional wrestling, and later on when we get into my fight career, I'm sure that'll come out. But I loved Hulk Hogan and all the wrestlers, and my town used to be where the training center was for all these guys. Downtown agricultural halls where they all came to train. So I grew up. I seen Jimmy Snuka and the Wild Samoan. Like they were just everywhere in my town. Like Rock came from my town. If anyone watches wrestling,
The Rock is from
Allentown. He's actually from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He claims Florida, but he grew up in Bethlehem.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So the Samoans were there, like all Mr. Fuji. So I'd see these people in town all the time, And Jimmy Snuka, if you follow wrestling, Jimmy Snuka killed his girlfriend or his fiance or whatever in my town.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
that's kind of neat.
Yeah, incident happened.
Well, not the killing part, but the wrestling guys.
Part.
Yeah.
So I grew up, and my father would always make fun of me because I always had action figures and stuff. He's like, we'd be busy. I'd be like, hey, can we do this? He'd be like, oh, I'm busy. Go play with your dolls. Oh. So he's always like giving me the zingers.
Your dad was a hard ass.
Yeah.
He was a real hard ass.
He had a slogan. He's like, I'm going to tell you once and hit you twice. So you make your mind up what you want to do.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad's was, if I don't say anything, you're doing a good job. If I have to say something, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, didn't get a whole lot of praise or reassurance from that. So what about, were you an athlete in school?
No, I was a fat kid.
Really?
Yeah. I was kind of chunky. I was in a class for behavioral bad kids. I had dyslexic real young. Yeah. So when I was in kindergarten, like if I looked over there and I seen the toys, I was like, I want to play with the toys. I'd just get up there and walk over and play with the toys and not pay attention to my studies too much. So then they just realized they put me in a class with other kids that had same attention deficit disorder issues. So I did that for, I graduated from high school. So I did that from first or second grade to 12th grade.
What was your mom like?
My mom was, she as a young child, she's a stay-home mother. And then once we got older and in school, then she worked at retail stuff and factories and stuff. So blue-collar worker.
And you said you had how many siblings?
One. I have an older sister.
How old is she?
I think she's like 6 years older than me.
How old are you?
I'm 44.
Okay, right on. You look younger. I don't know. Is it Botox? Is that what?
Definitely not Botox.
What were your high school years like?
High school was fun,
Did you get picked on at all?
When I was little and when I was younger, it's kind of weird because when I was younger and fat, the older kids picked on me. And then my father wasn't too like a hugging. I might have, I'm 44 years old. I might have hugged my dad maybe a handful of times or got praised a handful of times. So yeah, I got like picked on maybe by the in second, third grade. But I was a fat, big kid, so I was a lot bigger than the other kids in my grade. So then we didn't average out until like junior highs when everyone started catching up to me or I stopped growing. So no, I really didn't get picked on besides the younger age, first, second grade.
You said something about your dad telling you go play with some older kids. What is that? What was that again?
So we lived in like a nice area, like a suburban, maybe upper class area. So there's no other kids my age. So there's older kids like my sister age, like 6 years older, and then so I always sat at home and play with my dolls. Like my dad said, he's like, you stop playing with your dolls and go outside. And I never wanted to because I'd Hulk Hogan versus Iron Sheik. I'd make all these battles and WrestleManias. So then one day my father's like, go hang out with the older kids. So I had this Kmart skateboard. He got me this Kmart skateboard. So I went to hang out with these skater kids from down the street, and they're like 6 years older than me. So they're like, what kind of music do you listen to? Like, what bands are you into? Like, and I was like, I was playing with He-Mans and rubber wrestlers at this time. I might be like third grade, and I was like, my sister had Skid Row tattoo, on her backpack with whiteout. You know how the older kids used to do that in the 80s. And I was like, oh, Skid Row. So these kids are like, oh, yeah, you like Skid Row? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, name the members of the band. And then, I didn't know. And then they're like, Poser. And these older kids just pummeled me. So later on in life, the coin flipped and I got them back. So it was all.
What'd you do?
Basically, me and my friend Keith, he's still my friend. I can mention his name. He actually asked me to mention him on the podcast. So,
hi, Keith.
What's up, Keith? We're just walking through the schoolyard, and I looked over and I seen the kids that jumped me. I ain't gonna say their names. And then I was like, go with him. I was like, hey, come with me. And then by then, I'm all into like heavier music. I'm like junior high now.
So now you're 13, 14, 15?
13 for sure, maybe 14, 15 years old. And when I got jumped, I was probably like 7 or 8, this is a couple years later. And then I'm all into like more metal bands.
Sure.
Like,
who were you into?
At this point, probably like Agnostic Front, like punk rock bands, like Agnostic Front and like metal, heavier Metallica, Madball, bands like this. So I'm walking across and I see these kids. So I'm like, hey, come with me. And my buddy's like a hippie, he's like all tie-dyed out, long hair, but we've been friends since second grade we met. So I walk on over and these kids are there and they're like, hey, what's up? And I could tell they were nervous. They didn't know who I was, but I was just bigger and he was there. And they're like, what's up? And I was like, what's up? And we're talking for a couple minutes. And I go to the one kid. I was like, hey. And he was like, what's up? I was like, Sebastian Bach. And he's like, what? And I was like, pow. I fucking punched his fucking kid. And I was like, Dave Snable. And I started naming all the members of Skid Row.
Oh.
And me and my buddy just pummeled these 3 kids. And I get, it's revenge is a motherfucker, they say.
You know what? That's okay. That's good.
It's karma.
You did them a favor.
Yeah.
You taught them a little something. And,
And it's funny because years now, I work for all these musicians and I got to tell the band that story and they loved it. Like all the guys in Skid Row. And I talk to Scott Hill all the time. He's like, dude. And it's funny because I do instructional videos we'll get into later. Like my manager started having me do this during COVID. And when I couldn't go out on the road, everything was shut down. He's like, we got to keep you active. We just spent all this money on these security schools and this and that. I want you to do like women's self-defense stuff. So we do things like you're getting out of your car, you get your hair grabbed, and the guy's trying to drag you into the car. So we start doing all this self-defense. So Scott Hill from Skid Row, he's like, dude, I show my son all these videos. You're helping my son out. So it's like my experience got me hooked up with that band in my world. Yeah. And now I'm helping his son out through my training that I got.
A wonderful cycle that is.
It is.
How cool is that?
It really is.
I love that story.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, so your high school, you were not an athlete.
No. It's funny because Pennsylvania, everyone wrestles. They start wrestling.
I know. Penn State were the baddest asses, them in Iowa, man. Yeah. They were that.
So everyone starts wrestling even before they're like in school.
Yeah.
So then my parents get divorced. It's like 6th, 7th grade. So I have this great idea. I'm going to go wrestle because I always ask my father, I was like, I want to go wrestle. And he's like, it's not what you see on TV. You don't want to. So I go. There I am, a chubby fat kid, long hair at this point because my father always had me have a buzz cut. I could never have long hair. So my parents got divorced, so I grow my hair out.
He moved out, so he didn't know you.
We move out.
Okay.
But yeah. But my mother just couldn't take the house no more, so we actually were like homeless for a second, and then we moved in with my grandmother on the south side of Allentown, like the hood. Yeah. So I went from upper middle class to like straight up hood, and this has changed me a little bit, definitely for sure. Like like bicycle got stolen, GI Joes got taken at school. Just like that's where not so much the physical bullying, but like. You go outside and your bike's gone.
Yeah, they fucked with you and they took your shit.
Yeah, I never. Before, you never had to lock a bike up.
Yeah.
You lived in a nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
I never locked the key of my house. I never locked my door of my house. We lived in like nice neighborhoods, and now my bike's missing. You go to school and you have like your action figures in your backpack or whatever. You want to play at recess, missing. So I'm like, started getting like, parents got divorced. I'm into harder, aggressive music. Life isn't treating me too good, so I'm starting to get more and more aggressive.
And acting out.
Acting out a little bit, yeah, probably. No, I'm still a loner, but just probably keeping it all inside to blow up one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I lost train of thought where I was. Then, so we're living with my mother, doing this stuff. So now, getting into harder music. Like now I have long hair, so I shave my head. I'm getting all into tattoos. I got tattooed the first time. when I was 13 years old.
13.
13.
What was your first tattoo?
I had actually had a Guns N' Roses tattoo.
Okay.
It's not there no more. I got a porn star on my arm, but a dead
Which porn star?
Savannah. She was the best.
She killed herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know anything about porn, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Savannah
was my favorite.
Beautiful.
Savannah dated almost all my clients. I'm meeting people now, and like I bring her up because her real name is Shannon. I'm like, oh, you dated Shannon. Everyone's like, oh, you know about Shannon? And then like we just talk about Savannah.
Yeah.
My girlfriend hates it. My girlfriend's a hairdresser, so a lot of time with the glam rock bands, she gets hired to do their hair, and then they go off on tours. So I get to meet a lot. Like I just met the guys from Faster Pussycat and stuff. It was so cool. And we're all talking about Savannah. And I actually have her on my arm.
Such a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
So she basically got in a car accident. If people that don't know anything about porn, got in a car accident, had a drug issue at this time period. That's common in porn. Scratched her nose. She had a little scratch on her nose. Looked in the mirror, said, "My career's over. This and that." Used a firearm on herself, shot herself, and survived. She was living. She lived for 7 days, and then her parents pulled the plug on her. That's her story.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
What a shame. What a shame.
But first tattoo, Guns N' Roses tattoo.
Okay.
Got it
at 13 years old.
At 13 years old.
Okay.
Got it at the Allentown Fairgrounds because when before tattooing was so big. It was usually only bikers and sailors and just not the
military
greatest
guys. Yeah.
not the greatest people in life. We're getting them besides the military people, and got tattooed at the fair. I was the coolest kid in like 8th grade, like in my world.
Yeah.
So then going on to my martial arts stuff. So high school wasn't really that bad for me. I was like a bigger, tougher kid. I was tattooed, so most people left me alone. Had my clique of friends from being in this class for behavioral bad kids. Because we never, not behavioral bad, but this, I guess, people with attention deficit disorder, because not everyone was bad. Some people, the girls in the class and whatever, but people that just needed longer to pick up things.
Sure.
So we're in this class, and all my people are my friends. So we're in gym class one day, and I'm running the UFC just came out. So I'm running my mouth about the UFC because I'm into professional wrestling. So all these guys are like 6'8", Andre the Giant. I'm like, there is no way this skinny Brazilian is beating all these guys.
Right.
So, and then everyone's like, oh, you have a big mouth. There's one kid, I didn't say his name because I don't have rights to say, I don't think but my friend, Scott, he was just like, you have a big mouth in gym class, but you see if you have a big mouth in front of these guys. So I was like, yeah, I would. I'm a tough kid. So he's like, they're all going to be training at this gym. His brother Brian was training with the Gracies. So I went I didn't even drive at this point. I didn't, for some reason, I always thought I was going to die in a car accident. So I didn't want my driver's license. So I'm like 16 years old, and my mother drives me over. So my mom's driving me over to fist fight, basically. So she drives me over to the gym where the Gracies were at this point. And I get out of the car and I walk in, and Renzo Gracie's there. This is like the greatest guy. I don't know this at this point, but he's going to be like a big inspiration in my life.
Okay.
So there I am, all like somewhat tattooed, hanging out with the wrong crowd of people, chip on my shoulder just from the divorce and moving into the hood and everything. So I walk on in and I go to Renzo. I was like, I want to fight you. I'm going to kick your ass. And Renzo was like, oh, my man, you don't want to fight me. He's like, you want to fight my little friend. And I looked him right in the eyes, and you can ask Renzo this. I was like, I'm going to beat your little friend's ass, and then I'm going to beat you up.
Wow.
And then he's like, all right, my man. He's like, try fighting my little friend. His little friend tied me in a pretzel. It's like, go again, try again. You'll do better this time. You'll do better this time with this Brazilian accent. Tied me in a pretzel, tap out, arm bar, triangle choke, everything. So at the end, I'm all worn down. I'm all beat down. And I'm sitting on the edge of the mat, and then he's like, come sit next to me. And there I am, after challenging this guy and everything else, he's like, what do you think about jiu-jitsu? And I was like, man, this is amazing. I can't believe I could be this size and
get your ass beat by a little guy.
Yeah, and because I was a fat kid, so at this time I was 180 pounds. I was 6 foot, probably like 17 years old, 16 years old. And he's like, come back tomorrow. And I was like, man, I'm tight on money. He's like, don't worry about the money.
Really?
He's like, come back tomorrow. So I come back tomorrow and I start training, and it gave me an outlet.
Outlet for sure
of all the things that was going on in my life.
Yeah, because you had anger, you had stuff, you had family shit, and you were acting out. You were probably being the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And it brought you here to this pivotal time in your life.
Yes.
That's
so. I just started training all the time. And at this point, this was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was brand new. So guys would come in off the street. They're like, oh, I'm undefeated in street fighting. I'm like 100-0. And then Renzo would just do the same. And I would volunteer. I was like, I want to represent what made me feel so good.
Yeah.
And I'd take these guys down. So yeah, then I started fighting at this thing called BAMA, Bayside Academy of Martial Arts. And Dan Mortagati, the UFC referee, it was his show.
Is this still in Allentown, or are we somewhere else?
No, this is in New Jersey now.
When did you end up in New Jersey?
I just drove there for fighting.
From Allentown. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, I never left Pennsylvania. I never been on an airplane at this point or whatever. I would drive to New Jersey for these fights. They're like underground fights, like high school fights, or this gym, like, Tiger Showman's is doing fights at their gym, and you would show up there and you would match up by back to back. They didn't even have a scale at some of these things.
Just by height.
Yeah, and then you just do MMA, But back then it was called no holds barred,
Yep.
So, gloves, no nothing. You just duke it on out. And I was winning. And then, a couple, like the third or fourth fight I had representing Renzo's gym at this time. This is like 98, maybe 99. And I got all lumped up, and I was still in high school when I'm doing this. I'm going to high school, and I'm all beat up.
Bruised and tattered.
Yeah. So I win this fight, and I'm looking at the guy, and he looks perfectly fine because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So he's punching me. I shoot in and take him down, and I armbar him. So I win, but my face is all punched in. So then I go to Renzo. I was like, man, I used to get Grappling Magazine, and his guy inside the magazine was Melcher Maynor.
Yeah.
He was a world champion. He's actually from San Diego.
Yeah.
So in Melcher's magazine, it said, would you like to be a world champion from your home? I'm like, this is great. I don't even have to leave my home. So I order these DVDs, and I have someone else from the jiu-jitsu gym come over, and I'm like, neither of us have a clue what to do. So I would just kick him in his leg, boom, and he was like, ow. And I'm like, well, it hurts. I must be doing it right. And he would kick me in my leg, and we just pummel each other forever. So a couple months later of just pummeling each other, not knowing anything, of just doing the stuff off a home video, there's a Thai boxing gym that opened up in my town. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go there. I'm whatever. So again, I'm like, I don't have a job at this point. I'm still in school. I'm like poor, my family, it's a single mother home. So she's like buying the food, taking care of everything. So I go over there and I go to the guy, how much would it cost for me to come in and just kick your bag? I don't have money to sign up for your class. He's like, oh, I forget what he said. $15, $20 a month or something cheap. It wasn't that bad. So I start doing this. So I start doing this stuff off the home videos. And he's like, you're doing this all wrong. And I'm like, no, this guy that taught me is on this video. He's like, world champion. I really think he knows what he's doing. He's like, no, it's all wrong. He's like, let me teach you for free. Because his gym just, and I was like, I don't know. So me being still the street kid and still the angry kid, I look on the back of the video and it says, a phone number. So I call the phone number up and I said, hello, my name is Eric Utsch. I'm Renzo Gracie's manager. Oh. I would like to get Melcher Maynor to come and train Renzo for one of his upcoming fights. So Mel calls back like immediately. He's like, hello, Melcher Maynor. I'm like, my name's Eric Utsch. I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I bought your home video. This guy in my town says that everything in your video is crap. I want my $100 back because I'm trying to get I'm cheap, so I want my money back. And he's like, yo, I guarantee everything in this video, this and that. And then he's like, how can we solve this problem? I said, well, do you do seminars? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm going to put a seminar on and have you come. So we set up the seminar. I get money together. So I fly this guy in to do a seminar at the gym where the guy said he was no good at. But this guy doesn't know that I'm flying Mel in. I just told him a friend of mine's coming to hang out with me. So we show up and he sees who it is, and this guy starts moonwalking worse than Michael Jackson. So he's like, oh, I didn't say that. He misunderstood me, this and that. So we do the seminar, and I give it all my heart. So at the end of the seminar, I go to Mel. I'm like, yo, man, thank you so much for coming out here and doing all this stuff. If you ever need a favor, let me know. Like, street level. Like, I got you. I got your back, So he's like, thank you. And he gave me some fight shorts for free and some training gear, which is really nice of him. I go back, I'm start training jiu-jitsu. A couple months later, Mel calls me on the phone. It's like 3 months later, and he's like, hey, Eric, are you still training the stuff you learned at the seminar? I said, yeah. He's like, you still training the stuff you learned off the video? I said, yeah. And he's like, I'm looking for a fighter. And I was like, oh, man, I wish I could help you. I don't know any Thai boxers. He's like, I'm looking for you. And I was like, oh, man, I can't do this. Like I'm an MMA, I do jiu-jitsu, I'm an MMA guy. And he's like, you did say you owe me a favor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you did. And now it's like street level. So I was like, my word's good.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. So They fly me out to San Diego. So this is the first time I'm ever on an airplane.
Yeah.
First time I ever leave my little town besides going to New Jersey and fighting and whatever.
First time you're ever in California.
First time I'm ever in California. So I fly to San Diego. I stay here for a week. I have a funny story. So I never went grocery shopping for myself at all. This is everyone's going to laugh and think I'm a moron. So I go grocery shopping for the first time ever. So I'm like trying to eat healthy. I have a fight coming up. So I see these coconuts there. So I'm like, all right, I want coconut milk. So I'm thinking like a coconut has coconut milk.
Yeah.
You're not knowing. So I buy the brown coconut because there's a white one and a brown one. So I go outside my hotel and I'm trying to open this thing up. I'm like, man, I can't open it up. So I go outside and I crack it on the curb. And it opens up into all this water.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, maybe the white ones have the coconut milk and the brown ones have this water crap. So I go back and I buy the white one. I come back and I crack that open. And it's like, so I go as a moron. I put them in the bag and I return them to the store because I have my receipt. I'm like, hey,
they're defective. There's no milk in them.
There's no milk. It's so stupid. Think about it now. But the first time I ever went shopping. So then I said, hey, these coconuts didn't have coconut milk in them. I want the ones with coconut milk. I want to return these. And the guy's like, coconuts don't have coconut milk, you moron.
Oh, God.
Oh my God. It was fucking.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. It was, I guess. Shows you how much I was. So, yeah.
So you're in San Diego.
So I'm in San Diego. I trained with Mel for a week. And before this, I'm fighting in gym. So you figure, you ever been at like a small event, 20 people, 30 people, maybe the most, maybe we ran out of high school, maybe there was 100 people there. So I go sign up with Mel. We're all like this. We start driving to California. I've never been to from San Diego to LA or outside LA. We're going to Hollywood Park casinos. If people that know that, I don't know if it's even there. Is it still there?
I think it is.
I heard it got turned down. I don't know.
Maybe it's gone now.
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm driving to Hollywood Park casinos, and I've never been here at night. And I'm looking out the window, and we're driving past Compton. And I'm like, we're going to Compton? And all I know about Compton or California at all is like Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, sure. NWA,
And all this gangsters. And he's like, yeah, you're fighting Compton. I was like, I'm going to die. And he's like, yo, you all right? And I was like, wow. So we get there and we go in the back. So I never even seen how big the venue is. It was a big horse track.
Yeah.
So we're in the back.
Oh, yeah, it's big.
It was a horse track, so it's huge. So Mel's wrapping up my hands, and Mel's a famous fighter at this time. So all these famous fighters are coming to watch his student. So he's like, hey, another famous fighter from UFC, Boss. He's like, Boss Rutan's behind you. He wants to meet you. And I'm like, for sure, Boss Rutan wants to meet me. And I turn around, and me and Boss connect eyes, and I look at the ground. I'm like, dude, this guy just punked me. Like, how do you punk me so bad? So then I try to look him in the eyes again, and I look down. I was like... And it was like throwing my brain off before this fight. I'm like, this guy's aura is just like
massive.
He's just punking me out. I can't even look him in his eye. And Quentin Jackson's there, and all his UFC guys are there. And I'm like, oh, I'm so dead. So I don't really know that much about the Thai culture or whatever. And MMA, at this point, MMA was a ring. We didn't have the cage. Where we fought, it wasn't a cage yet. It wasn't an octagon. It was like a lower level. We fought in boxing rings. So the Thai music starts. And I just run to the ring like the ultimate war because I'm so nervous. So, everyone walks slow and Thai boxing and they do prayers. The music kicks on. I'm so nervous. I just run and slide under the ring like the ultimate warrior, if anyone knows wrestling. There's like 7,000 people there. And they all start booing because it's disrespectful. So I slid under the ring. Oh. And then I'm like, oh my God, I am way over my head. And then... first round, Mel's like, calm down. The first round starts, and we just stand in the middle of the ring, and we just bailing back and forth, like boom,
pummel
boom.
each other.
Yeah, just pummel. And he's trying to yell things out to do, and I come and sit in the corner, and he gives me a little slap. He's like, slap. He's like, look at me. He's like, calm down, get your patience, whatever. And I go back out the second round, and he hits me, and I just whack him with my right hand, boom, and I put this guy to sleep, like stiff, arms in the air like this. And I look over at Melcher and I said, I'm never going back. And he's like, you're never going back to Pennsylvania? I said, no, I'm never going back to jiu-jitsu. I love this. And that was the beginning of my Muay Thai career. And I ended up getting 4 world titles, living in Holland. I think by the end of my career, I lived in 6 different countries training with the world's best, represented our country 3 times in the IFMA games, like the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
So everyone got together. And when they do the Olympics, there's certain sports they're trying to get in, so you have like trials. So I represented our country 3 times.
How old are you during this period of time?
This is I'm out of high school by then. This is probably like 23. I fought from the age. Actually, I have it right I actually have it written down here.
Got your notes?
Yeah. And somehow I forgot to. My first fight was July 25th, 1998, and my last fight was March 22nd, 2013.
So 15 years.
15 years of fighting from my first fight to my last fight. And this is probably like this is probably like 05 was the first time I fought for IFMA when I went to represent our country in the Olympics. So, yeah.
That is awesome, dude.
Yeah. So I got to live in Thailand 1 year at the world famous Fairtex gym. So I lived there and trained in culture and stuff like that. And then I got to live in Amsterdam. And then
Isn't Amsterdam a beautiful city?
Great.
I love that city.
Out of all the places I was, Amsterdam is the friendliest people.
Yep.
Italy, I lived in Italy and trained.
Love Italy.
Italy had the best food, and Iceland was the most beautiful to look at.
I have heard that the most beautiful women on earth are in Iceland, and I'm talking the landscape's gorgeous too. But you would think that a place like Iceland, do they just grow them differently? Everybody says the women are gorgeous there.
Yeah, they have a crazy nightlife scene too. Not that I know, because
No,
I wouldn't be that type of guy.
Not. Yeah, well, you were training,
I was
so
training.
Yeah.
But they're definitely beautiful women. No, and everywhere they have beautiful women. If you know, everyone has a different flavor. So
yeah, that's true. Well, let's back up for a second.
Yeah.
That is great, and I do want to come back to that because you got me laughing.
You just gave me the ball and I ran.
Dude, I'm laughing harder than any guest I've had, okay? So I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I'm not even looking at my notes. So let's back up to high school. You first started training, and
training at 17.
Training at 17. When did you get your second tattoo?
Oh, by the time I'm training and stuff, I'm all sleeved up already. By the time I got out of high school, I had 2 sleeves.
What is your favorite or most meaningful tattoo?
I mean, at this point, there's stuff on top of stuff. Like, I mean,
well, I would imagine the ones that are on top are, is one of your favorites, or you wouldn't have covered it up.
Are newer. That's about
What is this red one right here on the one with the? Oh, so is this a gargoyle?
No, that's Motorhead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the red, what is the red?
That's Savannah.
Oh, that's Savannah. Oh, my goodness.
Met her a devil because she's dead.
Yeah.
Savannah.
That's very cool.
I got it.
Now, did you do time?
No. Never.
Okay.
I have a perfectly good record.
I thought, this is how naive I am, I thought that the spider web meant you did time. Or
that's in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm a lot older than you are, so.
That's just like stars on your knees mean you're Russian mafia. All that stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all outdated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one on your head, when did that come about? And that is actually really neat and artistic. It's an attractive woman with the...
Yeah, it's a Cholo style, Cholo girls. That came out when I retired. When did I retire? 13. I probably got this like 2015 or so.
Were you sober?
At this point, I retired.
No, I don't mean sober, not drinking at all. Were you actually sober the day you got that tattoo?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Going into being sober, I want to talk.
Are you sober? Are you?
I'm 100% sober.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that.
My whole fight career, even though I was all tattooed and I was into, I never had a drink until I retired from fighting.
Really?
Yeah, never had a drink, never did a party treat or a drug or nothing. Even though I looked the part, nothing. I was like a straight edge kid. I was like, I wasn't eating clean. I was drinking sodas and stuff like that. But I never liked the partiers. I never liked the stoner out. I just never wanted to be like that. I never wanted to be not control of my environment.
Right.
As a youth. And then my fight career was like the big part of my life, and I loved it. It was like the best, saved me probably from being on the 5 o'clock news at some point, or being an active shooter. Because of all the stress that I felt, even though a lot of people on your podcast had a lot more stress than me. But and then I retired, and then I started hanging out with night ladies, I guess you would say, partiers and stuff like that. So started hanging out with some strippers and stuff like that. The next thing you know, drinking some wine to be cool. And then it was just, I missed the fighting. I put so much into it. I had no angle in life.
You had a purpose when you were fighting. You had a goal. You had something to achieve.
I want to be the world champion. Going back to, let's even knock it back a little bit far. When I was in 4th grade, my teacher, Mrs. Yanis, had everyone. You could never do this anymore for all you young guys. Like in the 80s, it was a little bit different in school. In the 70s, I'm sure it was even the same as the 80s. The teacher had everyone stand up in the class and tell her what you wanted to be when you grow up.
Love it.
And she literally gave you like it was like Lord of the Rings or
oh god,
it was like a thumbs up or a thumbs
Gladiator.
down. Yeah, Gladiator. You know, so. I remember the girl next to me stood up and she said, "Oh, I want to be a school teacher." And the teacher's like, "You're in a class for behavioral bad kids that can't pay attention. You're never going to be a school teacher."
Oh God!
So she sat down. My buddy Keith Dannenhauer, who I mentioned earlier, he stood up and said, "I want to be a police officer." She said, "You might get that." I stood up and I said, "I want to be the world champion." And she's like, "Stop talking silly and sit down." At this point in my life, I was talking about I wanted to be Hulk Hogan.
Right.
I wanted to be, you know, but. Like I would love to bump into her now.
Oh,
from her saying that, I had such a drive. I'm like my father always like. My father never called me by my name, even in front of other kids. He always put me down in front of other kids, so other kids would pick on me. He's like, "I'm making you tough."
Yeah,
it's not making you tough. He's making you have mental issues,
beating you down.
Yeah. So he'd always call me weenie. He's like, you're a weenie. You're not tough as the other kids and whatever. What? So like then this teacher says this to me. She's like, "Sit down. You're talking silly." So it set this thing in my brain to. Even at a young age, like whatever I put my mind to, I have to accomplish. And once I accomplish it, it's not good enough, you know? So I get into martial arts and I win my first title. And I was like, I want to fight so hard. I train so hard and I win it. And then I'm looking at it at home. I'm like, man, this is like stupid. This one ain't cool. Like I want that one. I want that one that guy has. So I trained super hard and I got that one. It was always setting a goal for my life.
All right. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The moment that teacher said to you, what did she say exactly?
She's like, "Stop talking silly and sit down."
What was expressed to me the emotion that invoked in you?
I have to prove you wrong. It's just like I got to do this now. There's no turning back.
Are you starting to see a theme here, Eddie? Yeah. Fucking love it, dude. These are the people I love to have on my show. Yeah. She told you you'll never be good enough, and you said, "Hold my beer. Yep. Watch this." Yeah. I love it.
I was just like, now, and I'm talking about WWE. And my father was so much supportive. He took me to the Wild Samoan gym as a kid because he wanted them to tell me I could never be a wrestler. And they were just like, "You're too young. Like you got to be like 18. You got to be, you know, lifting weights." And I didn't lift weights. I was just a chubby fat kid and whatever. But even that, even like later on in my teenage years, like I was hanging out with these tough kids and these older kids. They all own tattoo shops and they kind of knew that I had a disagreement with my father growing up, that, you know, not too many hugs. And they're like, "Yo, before you come and hang out and get a job at our tattoo shop, you got to handle your shit at home." That's basically what they said. So my parents are divorced now a couple years.
What did that mean, handle your shit at home?
So I'm going to go into it.
Okay.
So, you know, I called my father. He wants me to confront my father about calling me weenie from the age of, I don't know how, I don't know. At this point, I'm like 18 years old. I'm like fighting grown men. First fight I had a lie. They had made you fill out a form, and it said, "Are you 18?" I had to lie. I was 17 years old. So I lie, and I'm fighting like 27-year-old men. I'm 17. I lie. I say I'm 18. My parents ain't there, and they don't question you.
Right.
So I'm fighting grown men. So, you know, to confront my father thing, just to handle like the conquering thing I was saying. So I called him on the phone. I was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And then he pulls up, and then he's like, "Hey, what's up, weenie?" or whatever. He always negative thing. And I said, "Hey, get out of the car." I was like, "I'm gonna kick your ass." And he was like, "What?"
To your father?
To my father. I said, "You're never gonna
disrespect.
Call me weenie, make fun of me in front of people, because I'm gonna pound you. I'm gonna beat anyone. Get out of the car."
You're 18 at this point?
I'm probably 18. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, probably 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
Until I get a chance to confront him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, "You're never gonna disrespect me again."
What happened?
He wouldn't get out of the car, and I'm like, "Get out of the car." He's like, he just froze. He just wouldn't get out of the car. And I was like, "If you ain't getting out of the car, you can leave."
And you're like, "Hey, Dad, you wanted to make me tough? Guess what, buddy?
Did, yeah.
Huge success. Let's celebrate the great job you did by me whooping your ass."
Yeah. And he wouldn't get out of the car, and he drove away. And it felt like I always claim this, like, my doctor said, I get anxiety every now and then. He's like, "Explain your anxiety." I was like, "It feels like a fat girl sitting on my chest."
Yes.
Yeah. So and then it felt like the fat girl got off my chest. It felt like all this anxiety in my life just got out. And I was like, wow, I conquered that. I could, you know, and I got, later on, I got the world titles. I just kept proving everyone wrong, you know? And even like, you know, he was like, "Oh, you're ugly and you're this and that." He would say to me. And then I'm sitting there later on in my life and I'm like, I'm hanging out with porn stars.
Yeah.
And everyone's doing what they do to porn videos of porn stars. I'm like hanging out with these beautiful I'm like, I beat everything. Every time I always say life gives me the shitty end of the stick,
Yeah.
and I climb to the top, and I'm looking for the next shitty stick to grab
Yeah.
to climb to the top there.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with jiu-jitsu. Like, if I got a white blue belt, I wanted the purple belt. I wanted to work hard to get to the next level. I got the USMF title. Now I need the WBC title. I need the IKF title. I need all these different titles in my life. And every time I got it, it was like it fulfilled me for a second. But then I looked like, oh, this one's not good no more. I want that one over there. And that's same thing I'm kind of doing with the protection thing. I went to this school, go do some jobs.
Yep.
Like, all right, this came up in a situation. Find this person. Take your class. Took a driving classes. Everything.
Yeah.
And,
I love this,
yeah.
dude. I so many layers to you. I mean, I knew there had to be some layers.
Yeah.
I knew enough about you. You got the tattoos. You got the head tattoo. You're working with Phil. I love this story so much.
But even you have to edit all this because I'm cutting all around. But even going back to the head tattoo, so I retired from fighting, which I loved. Going back to show maybe how not bright I am, but at one point in my career, I trained so hard, and that's all I cared about. Like, you could ask me, like, hey, who's in your weight bracket? I can tell you guys in China here, like, this guy's in my weight bracket. He just beat this guy. But if you would have been like, who's the president of the United States at that time period of my life, I'd probably been like, I have no clue. So whenever I get into anything, I get so into it. Like, before this podcast, your helper was like, oh, what hobbies do you have? I said, all I do is protection stuff. I said, all I watch on my phone or classes I want to go to. My hobby is going to train.
Well, Eric, it is a known fact. Well, I learned it actually not fairly recently, so it wasn't known to everybody or not known to me. When you decide to be great at something and you are laser focused like you are, a lot of things dismissed from the peripheral. Like, you're so good at this, there's no balance. You don't know what's going on over here. You don't know what's going on over here because you're hyper focused on this. That's why you're able to be great at it.
I call it champion mindset.
Champion mindset. I love that.
Yeah, because it always got to conquer, like a Viking. We both have Viking blood.
Yes,
it's like you roll your boat across the sea, you conquer this place. Like, what's over there? Let's go conquer that.
Yeah.
That's how I always look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, then going back, I retire. I just gave up my love of life because.
Why did you retire?
I was getting older, and my management team was like, you start losing things, like the knowledge, even I don't know anything about guns, but I'm sure it's the same with guns. Like, you can boom, and you're super fast, and as you get older, you're just slowing up. Same with fighting. Like, I would look at his body, and I'm like, oh, I know a cross and a hook, and this is coming. I know what's coming.
But you couldn't telegraph it as quickly.
I just couldn't get out of the way as quick. I couldn't block as quick because at this point I'm in like my early 30s, and these guys are 18. Just age
it was
gap.
just time.
Yeah, it's just time. So my management said, hey, we make everyone retire. We're going to drop you at this point of your career. You can keep fighting. You just can't use our brands no more.
Right.
You don't have the facilities no more. And I was like, all right. So that was done, at age bracket. So I fought for this company called Glory. It was called the Road to Glory. It was, at this time, it was like the UFC of kickboxing, the biggest show ever. So I go there and I show with the stripper girlfriend at this time, everything. I'm in the suit. I do the weigh-ins, whatever. I go out there and I have the fastest knockout of road. I must say Road to Glory history, because I don't know if the knockout has changed since I retired.
Up until that date.
Yeah, up to this point, I had 17-second knockout. He kicked me one, and if I didn't have my hands in the proper, this guy kicked me so fast and so hard. My hand hit my glove hit my head, and I was like, oh, wow. I am way over my head in this situation, because these are all the world's best fighters trying to get into this league, and then we're moving around again, and he kicked me again. It was just sheer luck. I was like, what am I going to do? My brain just took over. I was like, whack. And I punched this guy with my right hand, my lucky right hand, and he was up in the air again, feet and legs stiff. You can see it on YouTube, so I'm not lying.
Shit.
So the fastest knockout in history.
We're going to have some really good B-roll for this.
Yeah. And then I get out of the ring, and I go to my girlfriend at the time. I was like, I'm done. It's over. And then she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, you'll be laughing. Everyone's laughing. All my friends are laughing. I said, no, it's over. I'm done. I'm retired. And they're like, you just have the fastest. I'm like, I'm retiring on top. So many people that are my friends, they were great. And, you look up to them, and you're like, even like, not to talk shit, like Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's gonna fight whoever he's John Paul or whoever this dude is. I don't follow it no more.
Yeah.
But that's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson in his 20 years old, he hit so hard. He would kill this kid.
Yeah.
You know? But now he's going to beat up Mike Tyson and take Mike Tyson's name.
Yeah.
You know? And it's not right. So I didn't want to be the guy who stayed in too long, you know, because at my era of that show paid me the best out of my whole career. I got $8,000 for that fight. But everything else was like, you know, $2,000, $1,500. By the time you pay your management, by the time you train, take off a time of your day job, it doesn't. You're fighting for free, basically.
Yeah.
You know. So I got paid the most I ever got paid. I fought for the biggest organization for kickboxing in the world at that time. You know, and my management was basically saying in a year or so anyway, they're gonna let me go. So I was like, I'm done. I'm retiring on top. So I retired myself because I didn't want to go down the ladder, and then then you start like fighting, and you start losing. You know how everything goes. You built yourself up at the top, and then once you're at the top, the only other place is going down.
Well, hey, look, when you've won all your money back and tripled your money at the blackjack table, walk the fuck away.
You know?
Absolutely. Because
exactly what I did the other night. Because I was staying in Vegas with my friend. I was like, I'm gonna spend $100. Went there and I was like down. And first time I ever played roulette, I think it's called. Yeah. And I put my money down. Boom! I doubled my money. I was like, I'm good. I played it. And he's like, you're not gonna keep playing. I was like, nope. I doubled my money.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And I just walked away.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
I'm just so cheap. I really am cheap.
Well, I'm with you, man. I'm a big gambler myself.
But yeah, I walked away. I retired there, and now I'm just like looking for something to focus on. Right. So now I'm like, all right, I have a girlfriend this time. I just start focusing on her. Like, I guess my mind was set like, oh, I'm going to make a best relationship. I'm going to do this. I just kind of pushed her away by being too much, I think I would say.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm starting to sense something, but it's pretty weird since you never did drugs or anything.
Never. Up to this point.
Up to this point.
Yeah.
Do you believe you've got an addictive personality? Because once you find something you love, you go all in on it?
It has to be. Yeah. But, I have, after retirement, I had a drink and stuff like that. But I think I do have addiction because I don't drink at all now. I don't do anything because I can't have one drink. Like if you went after the show, you're like, let's have a drink and let's go do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, this happened with other people. Like I would have the one drink with them and I would act like I was leaving with all of them. And my brain's always like, you want two?
Yeah.
You know, and then I'll be, bye. Act like I was getting in my car, then went back into the bar.
Yeah.
And then, if I have one, I'm blacked out. That's how I am.
Well, you recognize that,
yes.
and you control it. It does not control you.
Yeah.
That's
so even with clients, some of my clients are like, oh, after the daytime, we're in the back or whatever, and you want to have it. No, I don't want to have a drink. I don't want to have nothing. Because it's going to change my whole personality and work with clients too. I always try to keep a real super professional thing.
Sure.
So
you're done with your fighting career.
Done with my fighting career.
You're into this girlfriend.
I'm into this girlfriend.
You overdo it.
Who's not the best girlfriend to even be with.
Okay.
She's into the adult world, so stripping and doing stuff like that. So I find like probably the worst peach. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be this super guy and get this super job and take her off the stripper pole,
right?
And be
save her,
save a hoe, Mr. Save a hoe. Here I come. I'm getting a fucking my cloak on now, and then it's like, it's just like, oh, where are you going? What are you doing? This and that. Now I have a job. I'm working a 9 to 5, and then she's like, I don't have to tell you because she don't want to be controlled. No one wants to be controlled. And then she lived her life all free and she lives this wild life. So then it got to the point where, I would call off from work and then sit across the street and be like, what's she doing?
Yeah.
So it just started. And then with her, she started yelling and we started fighting all the time. And then I had my first drink and I'm like, wow, I don't hear her bitching about stupid shit if I had this glass of wine.
Yeah.
Then one glass ended up being 2 glasses and then it ended up being a bottle, and then it ended up being 2 bottles. So after I think it ended up 2 years, we split. So now I lose my next thing I was addicted to, I guess you would say, or my next thing I was linked on to.
Right.
And I had no fight career. And I gained 100 pounds in 3 months.
Yeah.
Just by, you go from a fighter's diet to now I'm depressed, so I'm eating McDonald's.
And now you're a fat adult.
Yeah. Yeah. Now like I'm gained 100 pounds, so I went from like 175, 180 ripped up to now at this point I'm like 260 probably or so. I'm miserable and this and that, and I just just depressed. So then I'm sorry to say, but maybe I'll help out some other people. I was like, when I'm sleeping, I don't have these problems, So then I got sleep aids. So a little Sprite and a little sleep aid, boom, and I'd sleep. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm bored. I'm depressed, a little bit more.
Sure.
And then I got to the point where I thought it was a joke. I'd drink like 6 bottles of NyQuil a day.
Oh, God.
Yeah, a day. People die. I never realized, like, it's like probably sell over the counter. It's not a drug.
Yeah.
And people die on NyQuil all the time.
Sure.
So I'm posting this on Facebook, like, oh, let's see if I can beat 7 today. So a friend of mine who was in a band, he actually, so I got getting me into the security thing. He's like, hey, man, like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, what's it matter to you? He's like, you're going to kill yourself. He's like, stop posting on fucking internet. You're going to kill yourself. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm not fighting no more. I don't have a girl. I'm super depressed. So this guy's like, you're going to come on the road with us. And I'm like, to do what? I don't know anything about musicians or band. He's like, we're going to find you something to fucking do. Well, whatever. So I went out and I drove the, there were smaller bands. So I drove the van.
Yeah.
I sold the merch and this and that. Started working.
You were a roadie.
I was a roadie. Yeah. So I started working up other people that this band, I started meeting more and more people through this band. And this next guy's like, hey, I'm looking for a driver, and start like this. And this other guy's like, I'm looking for a driver plus like a security type guy. And previous in my fight, before my fight career, I was working at this tattoo shop, and I kind of got some experience with security because you're like, oh, you're all tattooed, just go with these girls to the strip club and you be like the security guy so they don't get robbed leaving to the
right.
Just I started off in the adult. Mainly with my security stuff, started in the adult industry like that.
So
working with strippers and stuff.
So you started with the band, and then you started with the adult thing.
Yeah. The adult thing started originally. I had my taste of security before my fight career, where I was just working at a tattoo shop.
Okay.
But then I got back into the band stuff after I retired. So then it went to, hey, I need a guy who is a driver, and then this and that, and then it just ended up. Then people were like, they're looking for security. So I grabbed some security on some of these jobs, like autograph sessions or whatever. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I have no clue. So I'm thinking like, oh, I just want to look like a big guy or be a dick or whatever. so I still have my manager at this point. So I'm like trying to be like, Hulk Hogan or fucking Mr. T. And then like, I contact my manager on the road and I was like, hey, like I'm doing this job and I like it, but I don't know how to do it. You have to find a place that can teach me how to do this job. So he's like, all right. And my manager's cool at this point. I'm retired, but we're still. So he goes in the computer and he finds this one protection school. And he's like, hey, man, this is like X amount of dollars and you got to be there for a month or something. And I was like, I can't go away. I don't have that. I had the money at the time, but it would have been all my money, like my life savings. So then I was like, you gotta find something else. So he went back. He's like, hey, there's this one out of New York. And I'm like, great. And that's when I got hooked up with the EPI and Jerry and them.
Executive Protection, who happens to be one of my sponsors. And I went through EPI in 2003. So I'm class 55. What class are you?
I was 86.
86. And that was what year?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So organically, so you start as a roadie.
Yeah.
Then you're doing odds and ends. Then they make you, and then clearly somebody found out what a badass you are, and they're like, hey, he'd be a good security guy because he could whoop anyone's ass.
I looked the part. Well,
you were able to act the part. That's very different. Yeah. Okay. Lots of guys look the part but can't do it.
Yeah.
So you get hooked up with EPI. Then what happens?
So then, Craig Kim is my contact. Craig is initial and I'm on the road yet, and I'm like seeing these rock star bodyguards. They're like, 6'6", like 400 pounds. Like, I'm like, man, I'm
knuckle draggers.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right. So Craig's calling me, telling me about what's going to go on at EPI, the 100 hours, the class of driving, and all these different things. And I was like, hey, so I was like, I don't think I'm big enough for this. And he's like, what? And I was like, man, I'm only 6 foot, and at this time I'm like fat and out of shape. I was like, I'm like 270 to 280. I was like, man, some of these guys. And he's like,
you were big.
Yeah, I was fat. I wasn't big. I was bloated, NyQuil alcoholic, bloated. Like, yeah.
Okay.
My hands were swollen.
Yeah.
My gut was dragging on the ground. Just mentally not there. And then I'm trying to. And then he was like, no, you're definitely big enough. This and that. And he told me his size and weight at the time. And then, not knowing the industry at all, I was like, all right. So then I go to EPI and I meet Jerry and all those guys, and I'm sitting down, I'm wearing the suit and tie. And then at this point, I have a little bit, I fast forward a little bit. So after the rock star things and this and that, I met somebody who was looking for me to help some of his clients. He was like a filmer, and he was looking for me to help some of his clients. So his clients were all in the adult industry. So that's how I started doing a lot of the meet and greets.
Is this after EPI?
No, this is before
Okay,
EPI.
okay.
This kind of led me to EPI because I want to go back to what I was doing and what led me there and how what I had to say at EPI.
Got it.
So basically, I'm working for female actresses, and that's why I said at EPI. And he's like, Eric, we all know what female actresses are.
Yeah.
I'm working for porn stars.
Yeah.
So by then, I worked from the rock and roll thing. From being around the musicians, I transferred over, but from meeting female actresses because they like rock stars. So now I'm doing meet and greets and client meetings with them and their clients and fans and whatever you say. So I'm like, I gotta learn what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to walk somebody. I'm just walking in front of them like I'm Conor McGregor in Roadhouse or something. And then I want to get trained properly. And so that's when I had my manager contact these schools, and that's how I got with EPI. So there I'm in EPI, and everyone's like, they're a cop or a federal agent or a war hero. So they're like, Eric, stand up and talk about yourself. So I stand up and I'm just like,
Is this during the initial first day?
The first day.
Yes, I remember
So,
vividly.
So I stand up and I'm in my suit and they're like, are you in the business? I said, yes. And I was like, I work for female actresses. And Jerry's like, we know what that means, Eric. Sit down. And then I sat down and a bunch of guys, and I like broke the ice with that one.
Sure.
There I am. I have no law enforcement, no military. I'm heavily tattooed. I probably walked in there. Everyone's like, "Who the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
You know, same like when I went to the first time when I went to the big convention in
Sure.
Vegas. You know, the record stops when I walk in the room usually.
Right.
So then, you know, just training. I took all my EPI thing. I started using it with the girls and stuff like that. And I mean, it's killing. You know, the walking and this and that. So now I start doing more and more celebrities.
Now you're done with EPI?
I'm done. I did the 100 hours.
Okay,
I did a 100-hour training.
Right, that's
And then
7 day.
And then after that, I went for the driving. So I did, what was it?
Was it vehicle dynamics?
Vehicle dynamics.
Yeah.
And then I did skid control.
Yeah.
And then I did Alan Baker's class.
Sure. Alan Baker was one of my guests.
Yeah.
Wonderful human being. Love the guy.
Yes.
Now let me pause for a second. Not just because EPI is one of our sponsors, but because I love that school. When anybody ever asks me where should I go, I've got 3 that I say these I know are good schools. EPI obviously is near and dear to my heart. I did the 100 hours in 7 days. It was one of the staying up all night, working straight through. Never worked that hard before in my life on the second to last day or whatever. I met guys that I am still friends with and actually have worked together for or with, or they've worked for me. Tell me about your experience at EPI.
It was good. I mean, it was a good experience. I mean, a lot of people were standoffish just because of the way I looked and what the industry I was all in.
The students were.
Yeah.
But the teachers probably.
The teachers were great, you know. I'm trying to remember names. I'm really horrible with names. Me and Jerry are still friends on Facebook.
Great
Jerry,
guy.
Whenever he sees me, he follows me online, always tells me how he's so. He told me, because he had to sit down with you at the lunch. I don't know if he did the same thing every class, but he sat down with me, asked me where I was, asked me this, and he told me straight out. He's like, you have to find your niche.
Yep.
If you don't find your niche in the industry, he's like, you ain't gonna be with the presidential people because of the way you look. You can't be here.
Right.
I can't really place you here. He's like, you got to find your niche. And then, you know, he probably thought I wasn't going to find, I'd be disappeared. And then next thing you know, he sees me at the conferences and this and that.
Yeah.
And then next thing he follows me online. So he's seen all the accomplishments I made. And last time we got together at Alan's class, we all had lunch together. And he's like, you found your niche. And it was funny because Jessica's like, he's like, you always know when you're doing good when you have haters.
That's right.
Yeah, because Jessica's like, you should see the emails we get about you.
That's
it was
great.
funny because I don't know. I guess they get emails. Some people email about me.
Oh, well, whatever. Haters are, that means
Yeah.
knows you. But that was such a good experience for me.
It was great for me because for one, you go and I was totally green. So some people go there. They might have had military tactics or police.
Yeah.
I had none of this. I had none of the driving. You know, it was all brand new.
Sure.
So for me, plus the way my brain is wired, I guess, I got set. So today I did the driving. I was like, fuck, I should do better. Tomorrow I'm going to do better. And then if I didn't do better, I'm like asking a lot of questions. And you know, I always do that. I'm always asking questions, or how can I get improved? What can I do to make myself better? And those are things a lot of people.
So let me ask you this, because for me, look, I had been doing EP working for my dad for 15 years probably before I went to, and I thought, wow, I don't need a school. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. And then I went to the school, and damn, did that knock the legs out from under me. I thought I was hot shit. I didn't know a fucking thing about real executive protection work.
Yeah.
I could be a bouncer. I could be a knuckle dragger. I had my head on a swivel. I had no etiquette. I had no finesse. I had no technique. How was that experience for you? Was that just a major eye opener for you?
Yeah, it was a lot, major eye opener. And then we watch the slides and see different things and different setups, and then how to change it, and just open up the whole thing. It just made me more comfortable at work. When I went back to the details after that, it was just better. You know, I just
you were polished.
I'm polished, and
I mean, as polished as you can be with tattoos on your head.
Yeah. I'm actually getting a lot laser. I'm actually working on getting some lasered off. It's weird because I talked to Craig Kim about this because he's a go-to guy. I was like, man, I think I'm gonna get my head's tattooed so I get more work. But he's like, but you stick out that way.
Yeah.
You go to a conference and everyone's like, he'll be like, hey, did you meet Eric Utsch? And they're like, who's that? They're like, the guy with the tattoos on his head. They're like, no, I didn't talk to him. And then Craig's like, he's great. And the next day I start talking to him. Yeah, it's kind of like an attractor to me.
Listen, if some unsolicited advice, you do what you want, but man, it's part of your character. It's part of who Eric Utsch is, and everybody knows who you are because I don't know another guy in our industry with a fucking head tattoo. Wear that shit like a badge of honor, man. It's who you are, and you're successful. You're doing great. You're in your niche. You've mastered. You told me you've met with like 3 of the biggest rock and roll. I don't know. What do you call Guns? Are they metal? What's Guns N' Roses and all those?
I would consider it glam, but I just love glam.
They are kind of glam, but look, you're dealing with those guys and Pantera and shit. You fit the part.
Yeah.
I would stick out like a sore thumb doing what you do. So what the hell? Embrace that niche.
Yeah. But yeah, EPTI team is great. I still see Jessica and Jerry and Alan. I just went back for Alan's class.
Great guy.
Because my experience with guns prior to learning now is just bad incidences. You know, at the bar too late, and someone pulls a gun, or someone at a party all drunk pulling a gun, and it made me really nervous. So I wanted to take Alan's class to get more comfortable with. Okay, someone pulls a gun. This is what you do. This is how the gun works, and it was a great class.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed it. In fact, I think it was so important and such an eye opener to me. My son, who was in the Marine Corps, is a presidential guard. He traveled with Trump. He traveled with Biden. He traveled with Kamala Harris. The fucking kid was, had a machine gun under his suit coat when he was 21 years old. He's got more formal training than I probably have ever had. When he's done with his degree in business, I'm putting him through EPI because it will open your eyes up to a completely different set of skills that I never had, and he probably never learned.
And a lot of people in my class too were going from being active military to now the laws are different because now you don't have a machine gun. You're in a street environment, in street laws.
Yeah.
And, not non-military.
Yeah. So, and let me plug EPI. It's personalprotection.com, by the way. They are a sponsor, so I might as well throw that out there. Personalprotection.com. All right, go.
So I did the EPI thing, and I was probably working in the business a couple years, maybe. Probably like 2 or 3 years, and now I have more celebrity clients. And EPI, when I went through, it was more like they didn't focus just on celebrities. They focus on a wide range of.
Sure.
They did maybe one day on celebrity. So then I reached out to Icon through Chris. I met Chris Story at the Mixer.
Great guy.
Yeah, Chris is great. He had me on his show too, and I met Chris. Met me at the gun range with my buddy of mine. And then he's like, oh, you must be a gun guy. And I said, no, I'm just here because EPI is doing a gun thing here. I was like, I'm not even shooting. And then he's like, and he didn't know I was a protector until the next day. And he see me walking around. He's like, you're a protector? I said, yeah. He's like, who do you protect? And I was like, I do this band and that band. He's like, oh. He's like, Anton? And I said, no, I don't know Anton.
Sure.
At the moment, I didn't know Anton. He's like, Elijah? And I said, no. So he took me over and introduced me to Anton. He was a great guy.
Yep.
We had a nice talk. And after that conversation was done, he took me over to Elijah and
Elijah Shaw, another great guy.
And he introduced me to Elijah. Then I said, hey, I'm really interested in doing celebrities and this and that. So we started talking. Then a couple months later, I signed up for his program.
The Icon, the celebrity protection.
Icon celebrity.
How was
protection.
that?
Excellent.
Yeah,
because
I've heard good things about that.
I'm more of a hands-on person. EPI was great, but EPI was a lot of book work and watching videos.
There was a lot of cranial stuff, a lot of book work in classroom.
And then I'm trying to I'm going back to my room and I'm trying to go over some things in my mind or whatever. With Icon, it was kind of different. You went in the room, 15, 30 minutes a day. Then the rest was hands-on.
All practical application.
Yeah, walking in the parking lot, grabbing your client, spinning
But
them.
EPI was probably a really good foundation.
Oh, excellent.
And I don't know if Elijah caters to new guys or not. I don't know. But
I don't know.
I think that is a great 2.0
Yes.
after doing something like
So
an
yeah,
EPI.
but I went to EPI, then I did the driving and all the other and Allen stuff, and then I went to Elijah. So I had a base of the schooling, and I already had a couple years in the field by then. So then recently I just took Christian West's online class.
Oh, very good.
The master class.
Christian is a very, very close friend of mine, and he's been on the show as well. Yeah.
We just had lunch the other day. He's an excellent guy.
Yeah.
So that was my training aspect of it. I kind of lost thought of what we were.
Well, you went to Elijah's class, so now you're getting formal training to provide protection in the celebrity world.
Yes. So actually, then how I got my client now, Pantera. It's funny because I was listening to Craig Kim's podcast and following Craig Kim online, and he's always like, make the triangle. So I know you, and I don't think like, oh, okay, I know Michael. How can Michael help me?
Right.
I think, I know Michael. How can I link him with this guy? Maybe my friend Mark. How can they work together?
Sure.
And they both think about me.
Sure.
So basically, through my fight career, I had a friend, Chris Kukowski, the Polish Punisher, excellent fighter, really great records and stuff too, who does real estate now because he's retired. He does real estate. So a friend of mine who was working for Slayer, he wanted to get off the road. So I was like, he wanted to sell real estate. So I was like, well, I'm going to take you and introduce you to Chris, and then hopefully you guys link up and you both think about me one day.
Sure.
Man, I got a free
You bet.
free Slayer shirt or something. So I'm there and I'm like this and that, and driving him back, my employer now, or the management company, calls him looking for a security guy, and he was just right place, right time. He's like, I got a guy in the car right with me right now. And he's like, does he have a resume? And I did have a resume, and they just sent it on over. And then a couple days later, I got a call from the management company itself, talked to them, and a couple days after that, I got a call from the artist. We talked, and then, man, it's been three years now.
And I am a huge Pantera fan.
Yeah.
I actually finally got to see them for the first time in LA at what is the big arena there? I can't remember. Anyway, it's newer. They were Metallica played Friday and Sunday.
Yeah,
we went all 3 days, and Metallica played. And Zach was there playing with him. Zach
Zach's
Wild.
great.
He's awesome.
Best smelling guy in rock and roll.
You said that. You go because he's sober and just
Zach's sober. I don't know
total gentleman and smells good, looks good.
Fitness guy. Fast.
Yeah.
Got me on. Actually, I'm losing weight right now because I'm somewhat following his diet. He's really into fasting.
Zach or Phil's? Because Phil's lost a lot of weight.
Phil lost a lot of weight.
He
too.
looks amazing.
Yeah, but Zach, I'm doing Zach's diet. He does a fasting diet where he only eats so many hours a day, and he does all protein and fruit.
That's called. No. It's something fasting. It'll come to me. But yeah, you only eat between noon and 6 or something.
Yeah,
and you don't eat the rest of the time.
Yeah, like with me, I eat between 2 and 5, and that's it. But I eat anything I want between those hours.
Yeah.
He only eats meat.
Well, you've lost some weight.
I did.
Yeah.
I went from when I was not sober, I was about $180, 280. Then I got sober, went to 250. Now on his fasting diet, I'm down at 227. So probably may stop at 215, 200.
Yeah. Well, you're tall. You're 6 foot tall. You don't want to go too low. You'll be skinny.
I don't want to look too skinny, and people try to push me over.
By the way, I can't wait for my producer to put in the B-roll of some of your fights because you were a bad motherfucker, dude.
I was
like
all right.
you were a stud. Don't be so humble. I saw some of your shit on YouTube, and you had an iron fist, dude. It's cool. So I think the viewers are gonna love watching that. Anyway,
I'm a lover now, not a fighter.
There you go. Good for you. So you've grown up essentially. Yes. Once we mature and go, we'll leave that fighting shit to the kids.
I'm old.
There you go.
I broke a hip.
Okay, so you're working with Pantera, you're working with Phil Anselmo, and by the way, when I grabbed your shirt and I go, dude, I love Pantera, we started talking, and you go, yeah, I'm Phil's bodyguard. I go, is he comfortable with you telling people? And you pull out a business card and said he had these made for me, and it's Phil Anselmo's personal bodyguard. I'm like, that is so cool. I love that.
Yeah, Phil's super great. Phil's like hanging out with me.
Great dude.
Nice guy. You know,
and he can still wail. He hits those notes.
He's getting better.
I can't believe the guy can sing so good.
Every show he's getting stronger and stronger. The shows are excellent. Zach's representing Dimebag, and
doing a good job too.
Charlie's doing Charlie Benante from Anthrax is doing Vinnie Paul stuff, and Rex Brown is still there. They're just killing
They're killing it. They were so tight. I couldn't believe. I was like, how in the, and we were right up against the stage. I mean, we were
and Metallica stage is difficult stage too, because it's a circle sound.
Which, by the way, is bizarre. I've never been to a concert of any kind where it's literally a circle. So they walk. So everyone in the entire arena gets a straight on, front and center, and we're so close.
Plus, now they can sell. With doing that, instead of a show selling out a lot, because these are football stadiums.
Yes.
Like,
didn't they sell out more than Taylor?
Oh, yeah.
What's her face?
I don't.
What's her name?
By putting the stage in the center and circular like that, they can fuse the whole stadium.
Everybody. They made a fortune on that tour, man. It was great. Yeah. But we were so close to the stage that the sound was literally kind of going over our heads to hit everybody else. And we could literally have a conversation, my girlfriend and I, right like this, because it was not loud. But if you walk back 15 feet, it's just vibrating you.
That's how it is on the side of the stage too. You walk like that, and your pants start vibrating and stuff.
Yeah. All right, so you're working for Pantera, doing stuff with them. Now we're to present, correct?
Yes, we got pretty much caught all up.
I think we're caught up. What does the next 5 years look like for Eric?
Man, keep training, keep getting clients, keep learning. It's like the same thing in my mind, like with the martial arts and that I did in the championships. Like, I have this, I want this, and I want this. I'll be Phil's guy until he doesn't need me no more. And in the downtime, I'm try to network and get other gigs and try to. I worked for Maverick Group for a while, and I did strike detail and trying to get my toes into anything I could do and learn.
Where are you living?
I'm living in Pennsylvania right now.
You're back in Pennsylvania. Your mom.
My mother's
right
my
on.
mother's still in Pennsylvania.
Taking care of her. Very cool.
I did the whole right when I got in the even before EPI and stuff. I was like, oh, I want to do celebrity detection. I got to go to LA. So I go to LA, and I'm living my 80s fantasy, like every Motley Crue video. And I get a apartment next to the Seventh Veil, a famous strip club, and I'm shopping where all the rockers shop, and I'm going to the Rainbow every night, and I can't get a job as a door guy. I'm trying to put an application, and it's just so internet. It's LA.
Yeah.
You know how it works.
Yes,
You're a
I do.
California guy.
Yes, I do.
So it's like sit out there 6 months, no work, whatever. Come home, and then my phone just didn't stop ringing. Proper training, proper everything.
Yeah.
I'm getting phone calls all the time.
So, what would you tell, if you could go back in time, what would you tell 15-year-old Eric, 16-year-old Eric, 20-year-old Eric?
Hold on, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
You wouldn't change anything. You just say,
hold on, it's going to be a bumpy ride, and at the end of it, you might end up being pretty cool.
That's cool. Well, I definitely think you have done that. I definitely think you've done that.
Actually, I wrote down a thing to say it.
Well, then say it. I want to hear it.
It says, actually, I didn't write that. I was going to quote something from this movie. I always watch this one movie every time I go off with Pantera on a detail. It's called Almost Famous, and it says.
Oh, I know that one with
great.
Kate Hudson.
Yeah. It's about a
rocker,
a writer, a rock writer for Rolling Stone magazine.
Right. And
he's a kid. He's lying about his age. He's lying about everything, and he gets a job to go on tour with Stillwater, and they're paying for everything. And at the end, it shows up that it's a kid and this and that. But it's a great movie. But there's a line in there. It says, if you ever feel lonely or depressed or whatever, just go to the record store and visit your friends.
Yes.
It's a great line.
Okay, along those lines, I'll be selfish and talk about myself for a second.
Ahead.
When I was 16 years old, living in northern Colorado, my parents had divorced. My mom was dealing with some pretty severe mental illness. My sister had moved in with her boyfriend. And I'm living in my mother's home by myself because my mom is institutionalized for trying to kill herself. So I get a job working as a janitor because my best friend was there working at this giant Catholic church school, and I need a job. And so he's there and he gets to hire me, so I'm working underneath him. Now, my life is shit. My family shit, everything. I hate school. Like I'm just miserable. Like I think you've probably felt at some point in time. I'm angry. I'm there working one day, pushing a broom, and he goes, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? What's wrong? You look like you're not too happy." And I go, "Well, yeah, things are pretty bad. Blah 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 blah." And I'm a teenager, so hormones and all. I'm a moody little fucking teenager, right? And he goes, here, maybe this will make you feel better. He hands me a Walkman, a cassette Walkman. He goes, listen to this. I put it on. I start it. It's Back in Black by AC/DC.
yeah.
And music changed my life. When I saw the power that music had, I put that on and I started listening to Back in Black, and I listened to the whole album over and over and over again. It changed my mood, it changed my outlook, it changed my perspective, and it gave me power because I knew if I was down in the dumps, I could put those headphones on, hit play, and it would change things for me. And that was a pivotal moment in my life.
That's somewhat of the same. Like, I got the record myself, but Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah.
I feel the best rock album ever written. But same thing, you know, I'm living in the hood with my grandma now. My mom's working all the time to get us out there, and you feel all shitty. And I would put that headset on and listen to the lyrics, and I'm like, hear about gritty LA, and like, this is how, you know, life is gonna beat you to your knees. You know, you can have the bright lights, but you won't get them for free. And it's just like, man, it just gave me I met a couple Guns N' Roses guys, but I never got to tell them in detail about how that album just sucked me in and it changed make me live my life a little bit differently.
Yeah,
it's just, music is great.
Now you're not a reader, but you listen to audiobooks.
A lot of audiobooks. Yeah, I'm dyslexic. That's why a lot of times I got put in that class for the kids that pick up stuff slower.
Yeah.
But, you know, my speed audio wise, if I can hear it and see it, I got it right away.
What kind of audiobooks? What do you listen to?
Man, I had listened to your book before.
Thank you.
Elisha's book. Everything I do now is all basically
EP.
EP.
You're hyper focused on what you decide you're going to do.
So all the things. I mean, I have. I think I listened to Forrest Gump. You know, there's like stuff I was at work doing. Details, and I just had background stuff. But major books I rented were those two off hands I can think of. Another protective book from a guy from England. It was really good though. He's talking about pricing and details and stuff. I gotta look. It's an old book. It was on audio, but it wasn't put
not
out
the Executive Protection Bible.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but it sounds like more of a business book for EP.
It was like a business book, how to bill and this and that.
Well, the people in our industry, that's good because I've always said the best technicians are usually the worst business people. Yeah. If you've got a good balance there, you'll be successful. What about your mentors? Now, I know that Gracie has got to be.
Yeah, Henzo Gracie is my brother. I love Henzo. Henzo, he opened that door for me. You know, it could have went two different ways. I could have been the guy in prison for life or whatever, or on drugs really early. And Henzo's like, even after I challenged him and his whole gym to a fight, he just opened his heart. He's like, you know, come here. You know, he's like, what do you think about jiu-jitsu? He just opened the whole world. He's like, even when I didn't have the money to pay, he's like, come tomorrow, don't worry. And every single podcast I do, even when I was a professional fighter, I always think Henzo Gracie number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Henzo.
That was such a that's such a good story about what he did for you.
Yeah, and still like not too long ago, they did a surprise party for him at the UFC. It wasn't like on TV or whatever, but they had different students from different eras show up, and I was invited as one of the first errors.
Wow.
And I'm in a room with all these other guys that are still active and still fighting. They look at me, they're like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Then Henzo walked in, and they're like, hey, do you know this guy? And Henzo's like, I think I'm his dad. It was, you know, like Henzo style. I love that guy. I mean, you know, to any kid listening to this, or even an adult, if you're feeling down and out, you know, just go exercise, do martial arts, whatever. It makes you. It's a stress reliever. Hitting thing is a stress reliever. I know now you're not supposed to hit things or be violent. It's
true.
Great.
It's true. And you know what? And when you get active, your brain releases beta endorphins, which makes you feel better. That's literally what's released when I think in serotonin when you have an orgasm. Yeah. When you laugh uncontrollably, it's endorphins. It's so good for your heart and soul. Now it seems like you. From what I've heard, your personal development has been very organic. You have done it yourself. Mm. Have you seeked out, or have you gone, hey, I want to work on this part of me? So you go and you find a book, or you find a mentor or something.
Not really.
No,
not mentor. I mean, besides training, you know, like I wanted to learn more about celebrity, and I searched out celebrity schools, or I wanted to. Learn how to do EP properly, so I searched out Executive Protection Institute. That's about it. You know, I didn't like go see a psychologist, or I didn't like search out like a showman or nothing like.
Okay, that's fair. I love to ask that. Yeah. I ask that question a lot because, and by the way, you're one of the first I think that has not necessarily specifically sought out some form of external self-awareness education or something. It just kind of came, you become fixated on something and then you give it your all. So the rest of the stuff is just noise that goes away for you.
Yeah, that's even like I wanted to say, like you had Alan Baker on, and he's like a martial artist. He's like a lifetime martial artist.
40 years.
Well, yeah, and it's excellent.
He's amazing,
I love
man.
training with him and talking with him. But with me, once I knew it was over and I had the fastest knockout, I walked to the ring and I'm like, I never put a pair of gloves on. I do seminars now, and during the pandemic, the pandemic hit right around the time period where I was just spent all this money at EPI and different classes. So my management was like, you just spend all this money. We have to keep you active.
Yeah.
So then they had me go live or make it. You can just go on my Facebook or Instagram. You can see these self-defense videos I did. Like someone grabs you like this. This is what you do.
Sure.
Someone's going to pull you in the car. So now I'm doing street aware. When I'm not booked with an artist or whatever, I'm doing street awareness classes where I, watch your drink at a nightclub. Someone will get you talking over here and drop a roofie in your drink.
Right.
And you're drinking it. Next thing you know, you wake up in Mexico. And then,
real life practical shit that we deal with every day.
And I teach it like that. And when I'm teaching, like to grab, and when I always have my students grab each other, and I'm like, grab them like this. This is how this is how the person is.
That's how it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I just did one of these a couple weeks ago because I had some down period, and a mother of someone that was in my class wrote me an email afterwards. She's like, it literally was, I sent my family to your class. They took your class. My son got attacked maybe 3 days later, and you saved him with one of those moves. Oh. And I was like, he saved him. I just gave him like the knowledge.
Yeah, you gave him the tool, but how good did that make you feel?
It felt really good.
You changed that kid's life. Who knows what would have happened to him?
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. Let me ask you a question a little bit deeper. What role does gratitude play in your life? Like, do you ever stop and go, I'm really grateful. I know you're grateful for Gracie because that was such an amazing story. I love that. But do you ever stop and go, holy shit, man, things could have been so different and I'm just so grateful?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really, man. I never really think about, I always think about the future. I never really stop and think about now or what could have happened, But yeah, it could have been really bad. It's just right timing, right placement. I guess the cards were right. I'm really grateful for the people I met in my life, even down to the part where my father or the teacher, they gave me that spark. Oh, you're a weenie, And I was like, no, I got to prove it. I'm not a weenie. Me and my father are great now. We talk all the time. Good. We're not. After that day, it was never a negative thing he ever said to me. And that teacher, I have 4 world titles at my house. What is she at? Like, not to talk shit, but what was her goal in life? Was it really a teacher at that point when she was a kid? Probably not. I said I was talking about Hulk Hogan, but I said I was going to be a world champion, and I'm a world champion. And I said I'm going to work for certain bands. And I haven't got to that level yet, but I'm just in the training process to get there. I'm going to hit those bands that I have in my mind that I'd like to work for. It's just, and then I ain't going to stop grinding until I get to that level. Or maybe it'll change. Maybe I want to own my own company one day or do this or do that. And just whatever pops in my mind is the next title I'm going to get.
I love it.
Thanks.
If they made a movie about Eric's life, who would play you?
Oh, I don't know. Not Conor McGregor.
No,
I don't know.
Why not, Conor?
I just watched that Roadhouse movie.
You got the T-shirt on. Well, you got the original, which, by the way, is so much better. Oh my
way
God.
Better. Like my girlfriend at the time, she's like, "Oh, I watched this movie. It was so great. You're gonna love it." So on the flight actually here, I was like, "I'm gonna give it a fair share." I watched the original. It got kind of cheesy at the end, but for the most part,
it's super cheesy. But it's but back when it was a brand new movie,
it was great.
Because I was a teenager when that thing came out. It was amazing.
I mean, I was a kid. Those are movies. Karate Kid. I always wanted to be Johnny. I was like, oh, Johnny. Daniel was just egged that shit on, and he was from Jersey too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like always Karate Kid. I loved all that stuff. Conan was the great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then going to this new movie was hard. I don't know. Maybe if we can put Sylvester Stallone in a younger a Rocky era could be me. Ayo,
that's great.
Yo, Paulie, your sister's with me.
Yeah.
That was my favorite line from Rocky. He's like, your sister's with me. I'll call you back later.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't? What should the world know about Eric Utsch that they don't?
If you see me at one of these conferences, take some time out to talk to me, I guess. Don't let the head tattoos put a fixture in your head before you know me.
You you're so much deeper, and there's so many more layers than I think anybody would realize. I can say this personally, if I can. I'm impressed with what you have done with the challenges and the adversity and the knocks and the negativity in your life. And you've, like so many of my other guests, you have used that as inspiration, as rocket fuel to propel you to where you are now. Are you a happy person?
Yes.
You seem like a happy person.
I had that, what was it? I even wrote down how many years it was. I think it was 7 years of retirement and not knowing where I'm going. But now I feel like I'm back in the fight game again. Like when I started, when I was doing traveling the world, being the world champion, I feel great.
Yeah.
Clients I have are excellent people. The management staffs I have to work with are excellent people. The people I meet in situations like this, I can't ask for more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I found my niche of what I want to do for the next, maybe until retirement or yeah, probably be doing this for a while. And
Well,
that's another thing I asked Craig came in the beginning. There's not really an age cutoff for this. I'm like, oh man, like my father was like, you're getting older. You want, you go into, you can be, there's guys on the road with us, in their 70s.
Yeah.
It's brains. You're not bronze.
I had a guy that worked for me. He lived in Pompano Beach, Florida, and his name was David. And he was, I believe, 70 years old. I'd fly him out to work strikes and stuff like that. He would stand on his feet for 12 hours and never complain, never move unless he was supposed to move. He'd come back to the hotel. He'd go to the gym. No, I'm sorry. He'd go to sleep. He'd work. He'd get about 5 hours of sleep, 4 or 5 hours of sleep. He'd get up and do 2 hours in the gym before he went to work for another 12-hour shift. Never complained. Always a smile. And you're right. If you've got the attitude and your body will allow you, there's no reason to quit. There's always going to be a place for you. You may not be able to run with the principal.
Yeah.
But you can sure as hell, work the residential team or something.
Yeah. You have to find your niche, like Jerry told me in the beginning. You just got to keep finding your new. Once your body starts giving out, you got to find your new niche, and maybe it's planning out where the people are going, like you were just saying. Yeah.
All right, one last question. I'm sure you got this speech. I went through when Dr. Richard Kovitz still owned Executive Protection Institute, and this was his thing. On the initial, the first night reception we would have, of course, everyone had to dress up in their suits and everything, come suited and booted. And he'd sit us down, and the first thing he would say is, "You better have left your ego at the door."
Yep, that's
because there's no place in this industry to be successful and let your ego control you. Did Jerry say that to you?
Yes, 100%.
What? Tell me. You clearly are very.
I came from a martial arts background, I guess you would say, by being, and that's a lot of gyms. They have that. Before you get on this mat, leave your ego there. And again, just by being in a martial arts, you see the big mouth guy come in like I was the big mouth guy with the ego, and I got on that mat with that young, smaller kid, and he tied me in a pretzel. It's like, I learned that young in my life to, sit back, relax.
That helps tame your ego.
It does, a lot of times when I'm in a room full of people I don't know and whatever, and everyone's talking, they're like, oh, I'm with this band, or I did this, or, I went to this guy's house, or I went home with this girl. I sit in the back in the corner. I just take the room in.
Smart.
The loudest lion in the room isn't always the toughest lion.
Oh, boy, isn't that the truth. Man, is that true. Eric, I am so pleased to be able to call you my friend.
Yes.
You are a hell of a guy.
Thank you.
And I can't wait because we're going to spend a lot more time together. Well, first, I'm going to see you. Are you going to GSX?
That's the one in Florida?
That's in Orlando.
I'm on tour for that, I think.
Okay, but you definitely go to IPSB in Nashville in
100%.
December 9th through the 11th.
Yes, I have all my books.
And anybody listening or watching, if you are in the executive protection industry, you have got to attend the IPSB conference.
100%.
The first or second week of December every year.
It's the first week.
Well, it's the 9th through the 11th, so it's the second week of December. And it used to be in Vegas all the time, and it was better then, so move it back to Vegas. Now they want to tour. They want to bring it all over the place. I think
I like Dallas though.
Dallas was okay.
I like Dallas because it was a home of Pantera, so I used it twice. I went to the conference during the day, and then later at night I went out and I met up with all the old guys that used to work for Pantera.
Okay, well, next time we're in Dallas together, you're going to take me with you to hang out with Pantera, okay? Because that's going to be great. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in Dallas, and who knows? Nashville, sorry. Who knows? Maybe we'll work together.
100%.
I'll pick up. I would love to get a band that I'm a fanboy of because it would be great. I'll put you in charge of everything. Hey, By the way, I want to give you a gift from
thank
one
you.
of our sponsors, Premier Body Armor, my good friends. They have the coolest thing they gave me to give to my guests. It's a bulletproof koozie, a drink koozie. And you don't you have one of their t-shirts?
I wear their products already. I wear their
You have their everyday armor t-shirt.
Yeah, the t-shirt.
I've got one right
yeah.
here. I've got one right here because they're a sponsor. Aren't these things amazing?
It's not great,
dude. I can't believe. And when you wear it, if you get the right size, if it's tight, it's moisture wicking. You can't see it underneath. Like nobody's gonna know.
Plus airports and everything, you can get through airports.
And this is 3A rated. I mean, handguns don't go through front and back. So this is a fantastic. This is a fantastic product, and I might as well plug them in because they're a sponsor. If anybody wants anything from Premier Body Armor, you can. I've actually got I've got a link to a landing page of theirs. That's if you contact them on the phone, you mention Down and Dirty with Michael Julian or the Alive Active Shooter program, or you go to the link which my producer will put on there. You get, I think, 10% off anything. So really good stuff. But you like your shirt?
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's great, huh?
Yeah.
I think every EP agent should have one of these in white and black. I've got both a white and black T-shirt.
I have a black one.
Yeah, because
I normally wear black. I usually wear a polo. I wear a polo.
You're a metal security guy. Of course you wear black.
Yeah.
But you never know. You might have a white dress shirt someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy that koozie.
Oh, thank you.
That is 3A rated. Not only will your drink stay cold, but it's protected from bullets.
Nice.
So that's important.
It is. Thank you,
Eric. Thank you so much for being on this show today. I really appreciate you, buddy.
Nice thing. Thank you.
Until next time, please connect with me on your favorite social media platform where you can follow me on my personal journey, including the fun stuff I do with people close to me to celebrate our lives and our victories.